It's time now for our panel discussion, and we are really fortunate to have Barb from Origin Energy with us to share some of her experience and some of the value that they've been getting from NextThink. I know, Barb, you'll do a much better job than me of introducing yourself, so please maybe take a couple of minutes and just help people understand your role, yeah, over to you.
Hi all, I'm Barb Martoe and I'm the product owner for Workplace Technologies at Origin Energy. I actually started my role the first day of lockdown for COVID back in March 2020 when Origin was about to go live with the NextThink capability. So starting a role on the first day of lockdown was a fantastic challenge, I have to say. And throughout my career, it's all been about rising to the challenge and delivering what needs to get done or be done for both the business and for our customers. So I'm going to leverage a quote by Richard Branson in saying that if you do well for your users, they will do well for your customers. So through 25 years in technology, from a range of roles, starting off as an accountant and then going through doing technical roles in project and program management, risk and security. I've had great exposure to a number of industries and a number of user groups and customers. So for me, the focus is about making sure that you are doing well for your customers. And in order to do that, you really have to make sure that the employees of the organization have all the tools that they need to do well for your organization so they can be their best selves for your customers. So for me, lots of different roles and different organizations coming into Origin at a really challenging global time and stepping up to the challenge on how do we best serve all our Australian-based customers and our global-based customers who are locked down and in a state of flux, I have to say. That was me and is me.
Great, thank you, Barb. It's really great to understand the experience you've got as well. It gives us a lot of context. So I know we have a little bit of content prepared, so we'll be moving into one or two slides that you've kindly prepared for us. Maybe I could start off the discussion then with you, Barb. So earlier on I spoke a little bit about the NextThink experience platform and some of the capabilities that we have in that platform. But look, I think hearing from you as the customer is far more valuable than hearing any marketing slides. So I'd really love to hear from you in terms of the capabilities that you've been leveraging and really what's been providing the most value to you as a customer. So if you can share anything around that would really be wonderful.
Okay, more than happy to, Alistair. So we initially implemented NextThink in order to improve our service management objectives. We needed to reduce our mean time to resolve calls for our users and wanted to implement a fix on first contact. So making sure that when a user had a problem with their laptop, desktop endpoint, shall we say, that when they called the service desk, they got timely resolution. They got a better outcome, a quicker outcome. So the initial benefits that were proposed were we had 3 remote actions with the service desk that were embedded, and we also set up some operational dashboards so we could see, as an engineering group, end user compute, we could see what was going on with our workforce endpoints. One of the things we did initially set up was 2 dashboards that tracked the digital experience both in the office and remotely, so we could ensure that our users were having similar experiences while everyone transitioned to working from home, which led us to some thinking, some outside of the box thinking. Alistair, if you want to jump to the next slide.
Sure.
One of the things we found when we were using the capability was that we could create more insights and dashboards that gave us better insight to what the endpoint was doing. We were a little bit ahead of the curve on this one in that we've created 226 remote actions across our service desk, our tech hub, level 3 engineering, and security groups, so that we can baseline our security, that we can monitor our endpoints better, and it gives us the endpoints information so that we know if there's a problem with an application, problem with a model of laptop. When we introduced during COVID a new primary collaboration tool, we found that the information, the insights that NextThink gave us meant that we could target a specific model of laptop to upgrade its RAM that it had in it, because the lower level of RAM in those devices created jitter and latency, which meant Teams calls weren't connecting. And there's nothing more frustrating as a user working from home, forced to work from home, sharing their bandwidth with the rest of the family who were schooling from home, etc., trying to do their job, and the laptop not working well for them. So it meant that we could target our upgrade of those devices and give them a better experience. It meant that we could, via remote actions, also undertake a little bit of background healing of the devices. So clearing caches, helping with resetting some of the settings like hibernation so that the device would self-heal overnight. Giving us targeted upgrades and patches for capabilities like YSoft, etc. Not that you really want to patch that capability when you're remote working because it's more office-based, but the insights that the tool gave us meant that we had the ability to manage our endpoints in a targeted way, which gave a better experience. One of the other things that we got from this was leveraging the NextThink capability with the pop-up capability. We had a couple of major incidents, and we wanted to be able to communicate quickly, immediately with the endpoints to advise our users what was going on, and in a couple of cases, what we needed them to do. One of the incidents that happened was a global incident. It's pretty well known in 2020. Office 365 had a little bit of a glitch globally with sign-on. With the NextThink pop-up capability, we could then communicate with everybody instantly saying, don't log off, do not disconnect. We used salient language that they could understand instantly and follow that instruction so those users could keep on working. It was a really great way to provide a little bit of continuity to a difficult situation. And what we've done after that is incorporate that capability into our standard major incident management process as part of the communication piece. So we found great use for that capability outside its usual or its intended purpose, I suppose. But moving forward, what we got from that was a pretty quick lesson in how we needed to communicate with people. So with that, we learned to change our language. A lot of users, when they're getting emails and they're getting emails from IT, lots of emails from IT, they stop reading or don't necessarily understand what you're trying to say to them. So with the insights that the NextThink capability gave us and the learnings from the pop-up language, we learned to change our language with our user base. We introduced a lot more plain language, a little bit of fun into that, but learned to better engage with our user base, which improves their experience. So all round, it led to quite a learning experience for us and how we would engage with the user base. We also learned from the insights and optimization pieces what our fleet was doing for us, to us, with us. So the fleet being an aged fleet with COVID, we were a little bit behind on the refresh. What happened is that we could target models for more targeted uplift to achieve a better outcome. And as part of our remote actions, the 226 we had as at earlier this year, it gave us a significant amount of automation hours, which is a business value, a very tangible business value. And what we've done with that since is created an algorithm based on the psychology of the automation and converted that into actual man hours so that we can have a different conversation with the business on how we now want to add value next. That's what we've done so far.
Well, that is fabulous. It's a great segue into what I wanted to ask you next. But I just want to say those were really incredible examples that you gave. So I really appreciate you sharing those. I mean, I've got to say that, you know, I've heard similar stories from some of our other customers, particularly around the major instant notifications, you know, really reducing the number of calls that come into a service desk. But you know, that example of telling users in real time, don't log off from your devices. I think that's a really fabulous example. And your targeted upgrades as well, you know, where organizations are trying to understand what is impacting their user experience, to be able to identify and then target, you know, where the spend goes to make the most improvement to users. Those are wonderful examples. Thank you very much. As I mean, just now you mentioned, where do you go next? I mean, NextThink is obviously developing our platform all the time. You know, we're making a lot of investments in terms of our AI and our machine learnings. But, you know, I'd really be interested, as you've been using NextThink for a number of years now, you know, maybe what are your plans for NextThink as an organization now? Is there anything that you can share there?
So we have incorporated NextThink's roadmap as it's evolved into our own roadmap so that we can keep that value going for the business. A lot of businesses, when you implement capability, you then start to use it and they'll go for longevity. They'll go, well, what's next? Where are we now providing a step change in the value to keep an organization invested in the tool set that it has, because things evolve? So for NextThink, what we're looking to do is we also work with NextThink. Thank you, NextThink, to try and evolve and drive the tool set as well, where we can provide insights back to NextThink on where we think there is a potential capability uplift. So working together on that. But what we're also doing is taking the NextThink product roadmap and working through implementing it against our own. So the Experience Optimization Hub, how do we then take the next level of that and create a step change in value that we provide into the organization, whether it be in terms of improved user experience, improved operational delivery or operational experience, or in terms of business value, which does tend to come down to dollars. But at the end of the day, running a business is about money. But in terms of how you achieve that, your employees actively engaging with your customers, it's a win-win. So for us, we're looking to uplift our operational reporting in line with some of the new capability that NextThink's bringing out. We are adopting the application experience because so far we've been focusing on the endpoint, and the application experience we've considered, but actual insights into the application experience use we hadn't been doing. So we're looking to leverage that new capability to a similar or more outside of the box way than we have with the initial capability that we had. We are going to leverage further insights on the targeted refresh, and that's not just now with the actual endpoint itself, but what's on the endpoint. We are optimizing our MOE. So in lots of organizations, you have so many agents that are operational on your endpoint that you need to understand where it is being impacted, where it adds latency. Then we're all returning to the office on and off in a hybrid way. So what we want to understand is what is that delta difference, and now that we've adjusted our endpoints for working from home, what is the experience back into the office? And then with the insights, the additional insights that are being provided by the new capability from NextThink, that gives us different conversations with our networks teams, with our SaaS providers, with those people who deliver services to the endpoints, regardless of whether they're internal or external, to make sure that we're still optimizing that device for our user base. while we've improved our user experience, we're not resting on our laurels. We now want to make sure that our extensively geographically dispersed workforce, who will be working in a hybrid model moving forward, we want to make sure that we are still delivering the best outcome for them so that they can deliver the best outcome for our customers.
Great, thanks, Barb. Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. You were sort of talking there about sort of an ongoing plan, and we hear that from a lot of our customers about sort of embedding NextThink into their improvement plans, and this being a living, breathing, really a continuous improvement type approach to getting that value moving forward. So those are great. Thank you very much. I did notice just now you were talking about that comparison of experience between in the office and your hybrid workers. And I know, in fact, you and I have spoken previously around the governance framework in the NextThink user group that we have. So maybe changing tack a little bit, but I think we're really interested to understand, how the governance framework has come in and how you've gone and sort of got organizational buy-in for NextThink, and in that sort of hybrid working, how you've got feedback potentially from across the organization. So I know a lot of people would be interested to hear about that. So if you can talk to that at all, again, that would be really valuable.
So going live with the NextThink capability, one of the things that I have leveraged in the past in other roles and other organizations is a governance framework for a capability. And it's setting up a pyramid structure, which means that while you've got your user base and your users of the capability, also it meant that you could have a dedicated change and development group. And by dedicated, I don't mean a single entity of full-time users. I've drawn on part-time users from across different teams to form a change and development group. And on top of that, a working party of stakeholders representative of the business, IT business and our technology and our IT technology customer base. So business partners, business technology partners, and IT representation in a working party where we illustrate what we have done, what we are doing, and what they need us to do. And by them being involved in the direction of the use of the capability, there's better adoption of it. And when you go to them to make a suggestion that maybe we could enable this or go in this direction, it's a collaboration. And that gives the buy-in. They're part of the journey. They're part of the decision-making. And then we have dedicated, experienced change and development technologists who enact that and set us up for success so that we get the insights further from the user feedback and the reporting that we get. And we can see if the decision that we've made and the solution change that we've enacted gives us the value that we thought. So by making sure that there was that framework in place, we managed to get our stakeholders actively engaged on initially a fortnightly, then a monthly basis, and make them part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Thank you. Yeah, as I said, I mean, I know you and I have spoken about this, and I could really pick up on your passion around that, and I think it's really essential. And you mentioned it just then about that stakeholder engagement and the buy-in from your stakeholders, and I know you've done a fabulous job there. So well done. So Barb, I mean that was really insightful. Thank you very much. Really some great examples there in terms of how you've got value from NextThink. Look, I'm really excited to be working with you and supporting you as you roll out new features and we bring new capabilities to the platform. So really looking forward to what the next 12 months will bring as well. And I think probably at that point it's a good time for us to think about moving over to our demo. And I know Jason is going to be giving a demonstration, but for everyone on the call, please do think about any questions that you may have. You can put those in the chat so that after the demo, we can come back to any questions that you may have. But Barb, look, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate you creating that content, and look forward to taking any questions with you at the end of the call if we can. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you for having me. Thank you.